with everything that's been happening with the Shannon Sharp situation, okay, I don't know if y'all are all abreast to it, but this old man, okay, he's in his late 50s, I believe. He's getting caught up with a 19-year-old, okay? He done got caught up with this 19-year-old, and now she's suing him for filth, saying that he did XYZ to her. Everybody's getting into the whole thing about false allegations and things like that, and that's a conversation that can be had, but I think we should talk about this idea of age gap dating. When is it appropriate? When is it not appropriate? Because some people, they believe that, well, legal age, that's all that matters. While others are like, hey, look, you old enough to be her grandfather. What are you doing? Facts. I just want to kind of open it up with getting everybody's perspective on age gap dating, and then we can kind of get into the conversation. So let's go ahead and start with the corner and then work our way. Okay, so
I don't know what your view doing. So
yeah, I don't know which corner you talking about because I got you in a vertical. I got you in a vertical.
Don't have me out here like Usher. He over here doing all this. I don't know if you guys saw that video.
I was about to say it's a square. We got four corners.
You talking about what he thought he was? You talking about what he thought he was in the middle?
Yeah.
Hilarious. He was in the middle. He was all this. But looking at nobody.
That shit was funny. So I think that it's a pretty boring take, but I do think that it's not a problem until it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? It's of course legality aside, like when it's legal, I don't think it's a problem until it's actually a problem. So if you're 19, 20 and you want to date a man that's 50, I think it's weird. I think a lot of things are weird. I think things I wouldn't do. I don't get a lot of shit that people want to engage in, but if y'all happy and nobody's taking advantage of the other, cool. I mean, I don't really have an issue. You know, like I said, the real issue is it can be a problem, but it's not necessarily one off top. So,
well, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and address the elephant in the room. You said 50 was old. So I can't allow you to throw anybody that's of the age of 50 as grandpa age. First of all, that ain't gonna ride. I'm 39. I'm probably the elder of all of you all, of course. But the thing about it is that I think when it comes to age, how a person looks and feels determines everything, right? It determines everything. So we can before you ever see anybody drive a license, before somebody ever tell you their age, we only assume what they could possibly be because they may remind you of a father or uncle or somebody like that based on their actions, right? But in totality, I have met a lot of young guys with old souls. They dress like my uncles. They dress, So the aspect of age, it's a metaphysical thing when it comes to how you perceive yourself and how you feel about yourself. Now, my mother, I would consider her old because how she carry herself. My mother been through a lot. I'm being honest. I love my mama. She know it. But my mama carry herself like an older woman, like an old woman.
Yeah.
I'm married to an older woman, but my wife is not old by no means. She's sexy as I don't know what. Now, I don't even know how I got her, to be honest. But at the end of the day, when it comes to calling Shannon Sharp old, I have to disagree with that. I think the man is in his prime. He's a prime fit guy. He works out. He keeps himself healthy. You know what I'm saying? He's financially in a good position. But now let's get to the point of age gap. Is there a certain point where age gap is a problem? It is. And I'm going to be honest with that. It's a problem when the manipulation tactics start to come into play. When an older man is getting with a young lady to manipulate her to from what I heard in this video, right? From what I heard in this video, sounds like he was on some manipulation stuff that I grew up around. I'm from Mississippi. The pimp mindset is heavy in Mississippi. I'm a pimp. Oh, I got multiple women. I'm a player. And they do this up until they're 65 years old. And then they start dating younger women and they try to keep them on this hook and try to reel them in. So I get it. But I think that's what I've seen about the Shannon Sharp situation is that he's trying to use this pimp mentality, this player mentality, this manipulation tactic on a young girl, which I consider wrong.
A lot of what you said, I actually do agree with because, for example, you said 50 isn't old, right? Yo, there are kids today like that are in their 20s that call me Unc. I'm 31, bro. I'm turning 31 in May, dog, next month, and you calling me Unc. 30 is so young, but I do understand with what you're saying, and I also agree with you, Vibe, when you say it's a problem, and Logic's also said this, it's it's only a problem until it becomes one, essentially. Like, especially when the manipulation comes into play. But let me say this. Usually this is an issue for men like Shannon Sharp who have, you know, the influence, the money, they have access to these, you know, younger women. But let me say this, just because you have access, it doesn't mean that you should indulge. Okay, look, I went to PWI. If you guys do not know what a PWI is, it's a predominantly white institution. I went to Virginia Commonwealth University. All right, I went to a lot of white frat parties. There's a lot of cocaine. Okay, you would walk in the door, cocaine out on the table. They would offer it to you like it was candy. But does that just because they offer it to you, does that mean that you should indulge? Nah,
you did.
No, I never. No, first of all,
the white horse.
No. Let me tell you something. When you watch people do cocaine, it doesn't look fun at all, and they always got to make a noise after they do a line. Like, I don't understand. Nothing about it looks fun. But anyway, yeah, that much I will say. I personally think it is weird when a 50-year-old would date a 19-year-old just because I couldn't do it mentally. Just because they look a certain way, I understand. Like, that's great. But mentally, I really could not put up with it. Because can you guys imagine the conversations that you would have with a 19-year-old while you're in your 50s?
Bro, I don't want to talk to them now.
All right. So, Sandra, what about you, Sandra? How do you feel as the lady in the group? What's your perspective on this?
As the token? Yeah.
As the token, yes.
I said you just gonna have to be token at this point.
Hey, I'm cool with it. I'm gonna look at this from multiple perspectives, right? Because I did date someone that was much older than me before. Terrible experience. Do not recommend. But that was my experience, okay? I'm not gonna say that that's everybody's experience, okay? I had a situation where I was with somebody that was manipulative, right? That was abusive. So that was my situation. But I mean, my auntie and my uncle, they have a big age gap. And they're very happy. Okay. They're very happy. And what's so funny about that situation is I was talking to my uncle and he was like, yeah, I was telling her no. I was like, get away from me. I was telling her no, but we kept running into each other and she kept pursuing me. And then after a while, just realized that they had, similar desires, similar, things that they wanted their family to be like. And they just worked. And so would I think that my uncle is a predator because they have this big age gap? No, I wouldn't say that.
Right.
Okay. I wouldn't say that because like I said, the circumstances surrounding it, I can understand you meet somebody and y'all vibe on a level. And like you said, that maturity is there, your maturity kind of levels out. I can definitely see that. I agree with y'all too. I don't want us to be a big circle jerk of agreeing with each other, but I do agree that when there's a problem, then it becomes a problem. The other perspective that I do want to look at this as a mother, right? How would I feel if when Bella turns 19, she come home with some 50-year-old man talking about, hey, I'm just like you. I have, a similar personality as you. I like the things that you like. I was watching Miss Rachel too. I was in my 30s, but I was watching Miss Rachel too. Okay, we gonna have a problem and I'm not gonna say what would happen because I'm not gonna implicate myself. Would I want my 19-year-old daughter getting with a man that's my age or her father's age? No. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be targeting 50-year-olds. It's just that's just the number that's coming out right now. Okay. I'm not trying to say nothing against the 50-year-old. Okay.
Oh no, they look they in the chat. They like, hold on. You're gonna have to say 70.
70, 75, 80. But I agree with you, Sandra, to an extent because what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Totally makes a lot of sense. But I have to ask this question because you brought up your uncle, right? You don't look at your uncle as right? You don't look at him as a pervert. But let me ask you this question. How many of those situations had happened before your auntie for him to have been labeled a pervert? So say, for instance, she wasn't the first. He found out she wasn't the first. And he had multiple younger girls her age before he actually chose her. Would that have made you look at him differently?
Yeah, because if you tell me that the reason why you didn't want to talk to my auntie was because she was too young, but then you have this whole history of dating too young, then I'm gonna be like, you being hypocritical. You just saying something to make it look better than what it is. Because then I would have a problem. But my uncle explicitly said, look, I wasn't trying to do this because of the age difference. It just wasn't for me. But then after they got to know each other, they had similar morals. And I mean, they're one of the happiest couples I've ever seen. And my uncle, like, I've been around him so many times. I know for a fact that he is not a predator. So it's just like, you know, there are things where it depends on the situation. But I also want to bring up this point. I do think that there is something psychologically wrong with someone who is so progressed in their life, looking at someone who is younger than them, and seeing someone that they would want to be sexual with, right? Because I feel like when we're aging and we're going through our seasons, I feel like if you are on the natural trajectory of things, you're going to look at the younger generation differently, right? So for example, Justin has younger brothers. He has one that just turned 18. If I look at him, I'm seeing a child. I don't give a good goddamn if he can go buy cigarettes or not. I see a child. So it's like when you're moving through your life and you're doing it in a healthy manner and you're not, you know, regressing or being stuck in a certain mentality. If you are progressing through life the way that you're supposed to, when you see someone that is that much younger than you, you're going to see a baby. I don't care if they got their cleavage out, whatever. You're going to see a baby. I don't look at, you know.
I disagree. Sandra,
I was going to say, I don't know.
This is a perspective. I'm sorry.
It depends.
I can't allow that to keep moving forward. Logic, go ahead, bro, because I got to hear this.
Like, yeah. Now, I will agree. Like, I think your example was just somebody that was, you said Justin's, who was 18?
Brother.
That's family. That's family. So that's different.
I'm from Mississippi, bro. Sometimes it's not a difference. So, so I'm just letting you know that.
Bro, I said, hey, if they like third degree away from you, it don't matter at that point. But regardless, like if you're 50 and you see a fine 21-year-old woman, I cannot judge you for being physically attracted to her because she's physically attractive. Like, I don't think, like, you can say she's a child, but she's not my child. She's not my family. Like, she's just a fine woman at that point, and she's a grown woman. And if she looks like a grown woman and she fine, I'm not judging a 50-year-old man for being attracted to her. Now, how you move, the problem is how you going about it. I don't see myself pursuing a woman that young if I were to ever be single again, which I ain't. If I was to be single, I'm not pursuing 20-year-olds. It's like what I said, the thought of dealing with somebody that young, unless she's exceptionally mature for whatever reason, maybe, but probably not. It won't happen beyond anything physical. So as far as dating and shit, you do have to have a certain level of maturity, in my opinion, and that would be based on the two individuals involved. But as far as just physically, you can't judge nobody for being attracted to somebody that's attractive.
Okay, I will say, so Logics, I do agree with you to an extent. Like, if I'm in we keep using 50-year-olds as an example.
Please don't use 50. Like, what the hell?
It's more like
let's just talk about an age, 20-year age gap. Can we put a basis on a 20-year?
I was basing it on the difference. I'm not saying 50-year-old.
Right. I'm going to be extreme. If I'm 70, right?
Right.
And I look at a 21-year-old and I think that she's attractive, I think that's totally fine. Like you said, Logic, it just depends on how you act on it. But going back to what Logic said, when you look at, even though they're grown, when you look at the younger generation, and this may not be for you guys, but for me personally, I think it's weird. Like in my mind, like I think it's weird because I look at them and I'm like, how old were you when I was a full... I was drinking when you were in diapers.
That was then.
Bro, it doesn't matter. Like I said, this is for me personally. Like, just the thought freaks me the fuck out. I don't know why.
But see, that thought seems like it's embedded from something that's deeper. Because I don't think that thought comes about if you know that people grow the fuck up.